Hi everyone. Today in our Hacktober Pro Prep series, we have Aniket Chaudhary and Abhinav Robinson here to teach us the advanced functionalities of GitHub and also how to become a pro at it. Over to you, Aniket and Abhinav. Thank you so much.
Okay, hi everyone. I'm Abhinav from CodeChef, and here's Aniket, both from CodeChef and Ethereal. Today, Aniket will give you a practical guide through at Get Advanced. Also, if you have any questions, you can post them in the chat, and we can get to you on that. So, Aniket, would you like to start?
Uh, so yeah. So before we begin, let's look for a public repository that has a lot of commits. So I'll just go to my profile. And just set the type to public. So let's see something that has more than a few commits. I think this should have decent amount of commits. Yeah, this should work in our favor. Just clone this repository. Pamina, is my screen still visible?
Yes, it is visible.
So let's go ahead and clone this first. I'll be using Hub for cloning, which basically sets everything to SSH. So we have our project ready here. We have cloned it and we have it on local system here. So let's look at the file system once. If I do an ls, I'll get all the files that I have here. And if you do look for hidden files, you can see there's a .git folder. Inside the .git folder is all the information that GitHub stores for us, or that we put on GitHub using our command line, or however we prefer to commit. So let's just take a look at the .git folder. So one of the major things that we have here is the head. Head is basically where we are in the entire commit history. If I were to cat head, it provides me a reference of where my reference is. And another way to look at where our head actually is to do a git log. If I do a single line log, I can see that my head on the local branch is at this commit hash. And how this helps us is this helps us move like throughout the git history. It allows us to roll back commits or add more commits, branching. Even if we do branching, it's the head that allows us to move from, like, this is basically a pointer. It points like this is where we are in the entire git history.
Yep.
So
So you
I'll
would
just
say
get up.
it's like a sticky note, right? On your book.
Yeah, it is like a sticky note, but in the sense that you can stack more sticky notes over it and it will change accordingly.
Yep, that sounds
It
useful.
stores the reference and you keep stacking over it and you diverge. Like, branches are basically divergence from a code, so it moves accordingly. It's a pointer. In the very simple sense, it's a pointer. So how source controls work is it stores entire data system into trees. So it basically points us where we are. And let's just type down git and see the different kinds of commands that we have. So the very first two commands are git clone and init. So clone, as you must know, that clone allows us to clone a repository into a new directory. It could be from a cloud service like GitHub or GitLab or Git Flask. Init allows us to create empty repositories on our system. We'll come back to that. And add, move, restore, remove, and sparse checkout. These are all these help us to stage the commits or remove them or restore tree files. Uh, and then we have bisect, diff, grep, log, show status. These are all logging commands which tells us more information about our Git history and Git changes. Git diff tells us the changes between commits. Like if I write Git diff, it should be empty because we haven't made any changes. It's just a clone. If we were to make some changes, and let's do a git diff. So it tells us this is where no new line at the end of the file. So it tells us these were the changes that were made. Just Control Z this, and it disappears. Log is something that we use very actively for GitHub and Git show. Let's do a Git show. Git show should also tell us the last changes that were committed. So git diff tells us the changes that we have made after the first commit, and git show tells us on the last one. If I were to do a help on this, so this gives you more information about show, like how more options can be passed to show, and you have this for all commands. For all git commands, you can do that command and just hyphen help, and you'll get a man page for that command. So going ahead, we have branch, commit, merge, rebase, reset, switch, and tag. So tags are basically points in our history which we want. It's called versioning system, right? So I can have version 0.1 somewhere in the history. It basically gives an additional, like I can't remember every time which commit was working properly. So that's why we have tags. And branch and commit we have already covered. Branch tells us what kind of different branches we have. We have only the master branch. Git commit allows us to commit, and if I were to write git commit, it will tell me that I'm already up to master because we haven't made any changes. Coming to merge, rebase, and reset. So there is another kind of head which is called the fetch head. So let's look into the fetch head. So what we are going to do is we are going to make a change on our cloud server. Let's say I'll just add a new line at the end of the file, and I'll update readme. Now what I can do is I can do a git fetch. So the difference between git fetch and pull is git fetch does not merge it. Git pull is basically git fetch and git merge. So if I do a git fetch, I'll just open the readme as well. So as you can see, the new line hasn't been added yet because I need to merge that. So if I do a git log, so it tells me that I have a head at master, but the one which I should have for origin, it's not here because it's called fetch head. So if I do a git merge, so this moves the head to fetch head, and it deletes the fetch head, or at least removes the pointer from the fetch head.
So basically, the new commit that we made on the branch is now the head.
Yes, the latest commit which we made on the branch. I could have just done git pull and it would have merged the commit for me as well. But git fetch is another way when let's see if there was a conflict. Let's say I'll delete this file here and I'll commit this. It'll try to introduce a conflict.
Yeah, this is a very good point here because usually when you're working in teams, it's very probable that you'll have conflicts between branches, and for that, GitHub has a set step of commands that can help you with that.
Correct. So to introduce a branch, what we will do is we'll edit the same file. The changes need to be made in the same file, and they should be conflicting. Like there is no new line here. I'll add a new line here. While I've already deleted the file on my local branch. Actually, I should have made this change before. I don't think this will introduce a conflict. Let's see.
So can you, Aniket, can you tell us a little bit about like what exactly do you mean by a conflict?
So conflict is basically two people are editing the same file, but I have made changes in a file and you have made some changes in the same file, but those changes do not match. Like on line number 4, maybe I've changed bin to binary and you kept it to something else. If and you have pushed your commit, but I haven't pulled before I have committed my code. So in my code there is binary, in your code it's bin, and the change you did was before me, and so the change you did was after me and I did it before you, so there is a divergence of code.
Yeah.
Let's just check first if we were able to introduce a conflict.
So basically now we have
Yeah,
two separate set of files that have two different things written on the same line.
correct. So this is how git conflict looks like. See, if you see, I did a git pull, and what happened is my merge failed and everything failed, and I can do a git abort, git merge bot. So this basically removes the entire thing. So I know that now I have. So what I'll do a git fetch, and then I'll try to do a merge. I'll still get the conflict, but this tells us why we prefer to use git merge. And there are other users as well when we have different branches and merging different branches. So this is how a conflict looks in VS Code. It does the color coding all for us. So current change is basically the change I did. Incoming change is the change I did on the GitHub, and which is coming from the cloud. Maybe someone else did it, or maybe you're coding from two different systems and you made different comments different. So what we'll do is we'll accept the incoming change. So now we have this file, but you will see there is a C written. And if I do a git status, I still say there is a modified. It says both modified make file. So I need to commit this file, and I'll add fix merge conflict, and I'll do a git push.
So what you've done here is you have actually edited the file which was in conflict, and now you have pushed that instead of the original file that was causing the problem.
Yes, yes. Instead of the code that was causing the troubles, like I could have kept the both codes. Like let's if I had added something else here and someone else added something else here. Let's say I add the HIN, and I'll call it in, and let's just add it. And instead of pushing it, I'll do an edit here. Let's call it TIN. Let's see if we can introduce a new comment, a new conflict.
So like while we are on the topic of conflict, can you tell us about like code review? Because I think code review is a big part of managing conflicts.
Correct. So code review generally happens when we have different branches and we need to merge those branches. When we are working on single branch, we do not have pull request and we do not need reviews. So let's do that thing next. Let's try and push this. And it tells me that it failed because I need to do a git pull. See, so now here I have the two conflict, which says we have a conflict. So I know that both of these are important. So what I can do is I can accept both changes. And I know the conflict has been resolved because I've kept both of them instead of keeping just mine or they just on the cloud version. I'll commit it again. And I'll just push it. We have successfully resolved the conflict and pushed it. Now let's see when more conflicts can arise. Let's create new branches. So we'll create two branches. One is alpha and one is beta. And what we'll do is we'll create one on the cloud and we'll create one manually. Let's create one on the cloud now. Create the alpha branch. So you can just click on the master and name it alpha. So master used to be the default branch before 1st of October. But then GitHub has decided to name their branches main now. So the default branch is now called main instead of master. So this was done to remove the master slave entire. It's a bit controversial, so they shifted
Yeah,
to
let's
main instead
just
of
leave that
master.
main, I guess.
Yeah. So if I do a git pull now, I should get the update that there's a new branch created. So we'll just check out to that branch. So checkout allows us to create new branch. To change our position of head. Checkout allows us to change the position of head between branches or between commits. So let's do alpha. So another thing now, Git you can do is if you write checkout and if you press tab, it gives you the auto completion of all the available uh, heads which are there. So you can see origin head and fetch head are also available here. So let's just check out to alpha and we'll do a git status and we know both are on the same. Now let's do another thing is let's create another branch, but instead we'll do it from a prior commit. So we'll do, so let's see, I want to go back to this commit. So what I can do is I can do a git checkout and the commit hash. So the changes which were made, the TIN and HIN, they have now been removed. Now, if I were to do a git log, so right now, as you can read, this is a detached head state. We are not in a branch. If I were to write git branch, it's detached as this commit. So, and it says if I want to create a new branch, I can do a git switch dash c and the branch name. And if I do just hyphen and do not provide a branch name, what it will do is it will remove the detached, it will attach the head to the alpha's final commit or the last branch you were in, that's final commit. So let's create a branch here instead. Git
So
switch dash c. Mhm.
yeah, no, continue.
Now we have a new branch, and if I try to do a git push, it will tell me that I don't have my branch pointing anywhere. So I'll set upstream. What this allows, so it tells that the branch has to be synced with origin. Now what is origin? If you do a git remote dash v, it will tell you the origin is the where we have our fetch and push setup. So we'll do a git set upstream. So we'll go and check if a branch was created and see we have the beta branch pushed to our cloud server. And this tells us that beta is 5 commits behind master and 0 commits ahead master. So what we'll try and do is we'll try and make some changes to this file. Let's say lib2. Probably the make file doesn't make any sense, but it should work for a general purpose. I'll do a feature add lib and I'll do a git push.
This would make a lot of sense if you're doing this in some sort of a project where the front end and back end are very detached, and maybe 2 or 3 people are working on it separately. At that point,
Correct.
such
That
features
makes
can work well.
absolute sense. I
Yeah,
think if we have backend and front end and the functionality is too different, you can also use submodules, which
yeah.
is another topic I think it's out of scope for today at least. We'll try. Let's see if we can. Mm, let's do a Git log and let's do a Git branch as well just to see where we were.
I think the main
Right.
thing
So
that
we
we are
have
seeing,
the.
yeah, continue.
Mhm.
What I was saying is, I think
Go
the
on.
main thing we are seeing here is that whenever we are committing, we should always pull first as a rule.
Yeah, not necessarily, but it's a good practice to do. Sometimes you need to commit it. Like if you have some changes and there is an incoming pull, so what happens is it won't let you merge it. It will pull, but the merge will fail. It will just do a fetch and it will ask you to commit your code first so that you don't lose the code you have done.
Yeah,
Uh,
that makes
in
sense.
that case, you can do a git stash. And so what it does is it takes the copy of your code on a local system and it puts in some safe box. It's called a stash. Like you put in stuff and you take out stuff. So it's called a stash. So in that case, you can do a git stash as well. So we'll come to that as well. Git checkout alpha. So if I do a git checkout alpha, I can see that there is HIN and TIN. But if I do a git checkout beta, this tells us on lib2. And so what we'll try and do is we'll try and merge the alpha branch and the beta branch. And I was thinking of using GH. I haven't used GH a lot. So GH is basically the new CLI for GitHub. It's a wrapper around the GitHub API, and we'll try and create a PR if we are successful, good enough. If not, we'll do it the command line version only.
Yeah,
So
GH
Git
still needs some
PR,
work.
it still needs some work. It's in beta, and I haven't even updated it. So I've done this once. I don't remember how. Like, let's see. Git PR, open, check out a pull request in Git. Close, create, Git PR, create. I think you need to provide more flags to that as well. Uh, we'll provide the title as merge from beta to alpha. So last time I did this, I remember I did not specify which branch I was merging. So let's try and avoid that. Dash dash base, and I think base would be alpha, or base would be the branch we are trying to merge. I think it should be better. Let's try if it works. It's asking to launch body, enter to skip, continue.
So we can say that GH is like more user friendly in the sense that it may ask you for stuff that you might have forgotten.
Yeah, we can say that it's also like PR is not something you can do from. Uh,
Normal Git.
PR is not something you can do with Git. Like you need to create the pull request on the main branch. Let's see if our pull request was successful. Okay, the title's fine. And I just want to see, wants to merge 5 commits into beta from alpha. So we have done it the other way around.
Yeah.
So I should have been on beta and try to merge it on alpha. So what we'll do is we'll try and close this now. Git close #1. That should work. Git PR close. Accepts arg1 receives 0. Git close PR close. Select another repository. Nada nada nada.
I think it's asking for the branch maybe.
It shouldn't ask for the branch. It makes no sense to ask for the branch. It's asking for number. I think I shouldn't put hash, instead only put one.
Yeah, maybe that's
Git
it.
close
Yeah,
one.
yeah. I think it has
Yep,
done it.
closed. So let's now check out to beta and try to do this right. And we put alpha here. body skip, submit, and let's see if we have our pull request. Yep. So it says that there is conflicting files, the make file, so it's not allowing us to. So what I can do here is I can ask for a review here. So I can ask any contributor for review, but there are no contributors on this, I guess. And I cannot assign myself. So if I need to add a contributor for reviews, I'll just add up enough.
Oh yeah, you can add me. Let me just.
I've sent the invite. So this basically lets Abhinav to pull and push to my repo as well.
Okay, so while I'm doing that, Aniket, can you tell us about the new Hacktoberfest requirements
Oh
for being
yeah, so
eligible?
Hacktoberfest now has more requirements which we haven't seen before in the past 3-4 years. See, one of the if you were to go to the Hacktoberfest website and click on the updated, so there is a new notice here. So this has never happened before. Every time they have conducted Hacktoberfest. So let's see what they say. So I'll even tell you what it says. So one of the major things that they require is it should either have a topic, like you can add a topic to your GitHub from clicking here. Let's add the Hacktoberfest topic and Hacktoberfest. So this basically tells people that yeah, this is for Hacktoberfest, and I can add more topics like what this is about. And but this is a requirement for conducting Hacktoberfest. Now, as you can read here, uh, so the first condition is needs to be submitted in the month of October. The pull request. Second is it should be public. We are working on a public repo. The pull request should either be labeled Hacktoberfest or another thing. Your pull request should have been approved, and the repo must have Hacktoberfest topic as well. So these are the new requirements. So please make sure that your pull request that you have put forward comply with these terms. If not, go and create more pull requests, contribute to more open source. So Abhinav now has access to the repository. So what I'll do is I'll give him review. Can I give you review access from the
Yeah,
CLI?
actually, I got the review access and I think I approved the change. So you can try, or you can refresh. Yeah, you can see my. So that there is a code review. Basically,
Yeah.
what's happened here is that I have gone through the his commit. I've gone to Nikit's commit. I have checked what exactly has gone wrong.
Correct. But I think still there is a conflicting file. So I'll ask for a re-review, re-request the review, or I'll put a review myself. Let's see. Resolve conversation.
I think it's asking me to actually resolve the conflict itself.
Yeah. So let's do and resolve the conflict as well now before we merge it. So it's a pretty similar process, but the UI isn't as friendly on GitHub as it is on VS Code or most of the cutting edge editors or IDs. So I'll
IDs, yeah.
just remove this and mark them as resolved. And I'll commit this merge. So
So it's
now I can.
yeah. So it's generally best practice that whenever in your pull request, if you have a conflict, that you should actually like try to resolve it first before the maintainer actually gets to it, because that might only add extra workload on the maintainer who has to see 10 and 20
Yeah,
commits
that's
every
the
day.
general rule of thumb. Like that's a general rule of thumb when you're trying to resolve conflicts. It's better every time you make a pull request, you try and resolve conflicts as well. And I think now it allows us to get PR checkout as well. And I can
Yes.
check out on that and resolve conflicts as well. Oh, GH PR checkout. Pretty different CLI. Uh,
I think it's second.
so
The ID is second too.
the idea is to get still did check out to me. I want to see what it tells me about the head Git branch. Tells me I'm still in alpha. Does not give me any other. Mhm. I'll just get check out alpha once again just to be safe. And we'll do a rebase here as well. And it cannot be rebased due to, but it can be squashed. So we'll look into what rebasing is as well. I think we'll cover two more topics: rebasing and merging pull requests, merging different branches on the local system. And if there is any other topic we can cover, we will cover that.
So I think an important thing that has happened here is that our headless state that existed is now totally disappeared, and now it's completely part of a branch.
Correct. So let's pull it as well. And another thing I'm going to do here is I'm going to transfer my repository. So it's in the dangerous section of your settings. So this will allow us to change origins as well. So I'll transfer the ownership to, let's say, relevance, because I have access to that. So I won't have to wait for the owner to accept it. So if I were to go to this now, and it says it should take a few minutes, generally it doesn't take that long. So now what has happened is my local branch still points to Aniket Biproject slash CPP matrix class dot git, while the original repository has disappeared. So now GitHub automatically resolves these. It doesn't used to do it before, but now it automatically points. Like if I were to write Aniket Biproject, it should redirect, should give me a 300 to Ethereum 11. So it just redirects. But earlier this was not the case. So what we needed to do was we needed to remove the remote. Git remote remove origin. And then I need to add the origin again. I could have just added another name instead of origin. Like I could have added git remote folk, and I could have added the path, but I'll just stick to origin because I've removed it already. And git remote add origin.
And what this is doing is basically
And if
it's
I were to,
telling your local system that the new repository is now on a different user.
so it's telling me that origin points to here, but I still
Yeah.
need to set the upstreams again. So removing the origin removes all the upstreams and downstreams, which is a side effect of doing that.
Yeah,
I'll
could
just
you
set it again and
explain
do a git pull.
a bit more in detail what upstream is?
So set upstream is basically it tells us it points to which branch the origin. Instead of origin, I could have pointed it to a fork. My I'm on beta branch, but I alpha branch, but I could have pointed it to just beta, and I could have just pushed it as well. That would probably create some kind of conflict. Yes, but because the history doesn't match, but it basically allows me to change. Like I can push from my test develop branch directly to my master branch on the repository using this, and I could push it on a fork as well if I add that as a remote. We'll just stick to the original one, and we'll try and do a rebase. So rebasing is basically going back into and switching something. It allows us to do a lot of things like squashing and picking, and there are a lot of things to rebasing. We'll just look into squashing. So I can if I just write git rebase dash I, this is for interactive, and this is just plain syntax for now. There's a lot more to this, but we won't be covering that. And I'll be going behind three heads. Like, so what this tells me is that, let's say, so it allows me to select three things back from the head. So it allows me to select till, let's say I'll select till bases, or I could have just provided the hash, but let's do this. Git rebase dash I could have provided the hash commit here. What I'll do is I'll provide a head. This is tilde. It's below your escape key and just next to your numeric key 1 on the top bar. And you press the shift while doing this. And I'll do 3. Let's see if we run into conflicts as well. Well, probably might. So we'll just look into squashing. So it says like pick this, pick this, pick this. I can do an edit and I can change the time, change the commit, and do a lot more things. I can do a merge, and I can just drop that commit, like remove that commit. We'll just do squash. Squash basically does it takes a lot of commits and it compresses them into a single commit. It doesn't necessarily remove all the junk that you have on Git or the size of your Git project, but it does help. Squash. It makes data more readable. If you're like, there's a bug fix, you have made like 50 commits on, but before merge, I want to rebase that into a single commit. Like this pull request just fixes this, and if someone really needs to work on that again, he can just go back to that branch and work on it. So we'll just squash them for now.
So
We'll just
basically,
do it on alpha only.
we are using this for labeling, right?
We can say that it's for use for labeling, but there are more things to like squashing. It's not exactly labeling, but it helps. It helps in labeling as well. It reduces the amount of increases readability of commits.
Makes it
So
easier
I'll
for the
just
maintainer.
yeah. Yeah, for the maintainer, for someone who hasn't seen the code, and new contributors, it helps everyone accept both changes, and I'll do. So it basically tells me that it has failed and I need to do another git add, git commit dash, and feature is to merges and git rebase dash dash continue.
Yeah, and this is another good habit that whenever you make any changes that you feel are significant, it's always best to just commit them.
Yes, like major changes, or if there are too many people working on the same branch, it's better to at least commit it, even if you're not pulling it. It's a
Yeah,
good
exactly.
practice to have frequent commits. That's also opinion based, but I prefer doing that.
Well,
So we have successfully rebased now. And if I were to check my Git log, instead of having uh, 3 commits, I just have 2 now. Now what I'm going to do, I'm trying to push them. It probably fail because we have a different history on. So instead of pushing them, what I'm going to do is I'm going to check out to master, git checkout master, and I'll try and merge the alpha branch here. Auto merging, and it allows me to create a commit, and I have merged the alpha branch. Set. And we can roll back our commits on git checkout alpha. So let's do that also. Let's do a rollback on alpha. So uh, it says that your branch origin alpha have diverged 1 and 3 commits respectively. So what I'll do is I'll do a git reset, and this is the longer way to do this, but prefer doing this. Let's do a git head. It just went back one, so I'll do a git head 4, and I'll just get to a git pull.
so
So
basically, I
if I try,
manually went
yeah, so
back
I've
5 commits.
manually made sure that my local and uh, cloud branch are on the same head.
History.
And
Right.
before that, I made sure that I merged my commits to the master branch.
Yes. So basically,
And
you will
we
be
should have,
updating the new head.
correct. So basically, I pushed the head back 5 commits and I pulled it back to 8 commits. Now let's do a stash as well. Like let's make a lot of random changes that we don't need. And
The maintainer is gonna hate
and
this.
probably let's do a git branch. We won't push these changes. It's fine. Let's go to alpha and let's do a make file change before after endif. So this on line 19 I have that. So let's do something which would have introduced a conflict. So let's declare another variable only. We'll format this and we'll declare another variable. Or maybe we'll move libraries down. We'll declare it on 19. Hopefully we would be able to change orientation. So it's a good habit to have more verbose commit messages as well. I generally follow the Udemy guide for just point to that as well. GitHub commit. So I can't find the link. It basically tells you how you should structure your commits, and different people find out this is Udacity. It wasn't Udemy. My bad. So if you go to this website, it tells you how you should put your commits and types, and we'll do that as well. Like so I generally prefer doing this as well. I
Yeah, and I think
have this now. Mm-hmm.
the proper terminology that I have seen on multiple places is a style guide, and many maintainers actually include a style guide in their repository. So if you're ever looking up in a public repository, make sure to check the
Correct.
contributing.md file and also the style guide if available.
There are even a lot of commits which require you to sign off all your commits. So you can either do a GPG sign off or you can sign them manually. Uh,
Yeah,
let's.
but
I think.
I think that's a bit out of scope.
Yeah, it's GPG is out of scope, but you can sign them manually. I think someone did sign a repo or commit. Like it's a simple message at the end of your commit, and you can also do it. 17 commits. Yeah, signed off by the name and the. This is how it basically tells you that you need to sign off at Squash. There are different requirements, and if there is a CI, the CI might directly close your pull request as well for being not up to the mark. So let's do a git pull. We made changes, and I'm expecting that there would be a conflict. So this basically tells me, we were discussing this before. So it fails to merge them. So what I need to do is I will do a stash. And now I will do a git merge. So stash basically reverts all to a prior commit, but at the same time it makes sure that things are still up to the mark on that. See the code we did that we'll just see how it works. So I did a git merge and now I'll do a git stash apply. So this basically pulls back the entire content which I had put before. So in this way, I did not have to do a merge conflict. I did not face a merge conflict. And I do not want to actually commit this. So I've already staged this. So let's see what to do now. I've staged it, but I do not want to do this staging. So what I'll do, I'll just restore that. And I'll do a dot restore. And now it tells me that these haven't been changed, and I'll just revert those actually. I think these were the major things that I wanted to cover. Let's see if there is anything else left that we can look into. So we went from branch and commit and merge rebase. We did not see reset. Did we see reset? I think I did a reset, right? I did not explicitly mention we were doing a git reset. So git reset was this hard head/4 the for so this is when I went four commits back and pulled 8 commits. That's when we did a reset. We can even do a soft reset. So what soft reset does, it does not delete my files. So it still goes back and it labels everything as these were the changes that were made. And I'll just do a git stash and do a git pull just so that the entire thing is in sync. Let's see, was there anything else that we can cover?
I think while code reviewing, we missed the part of like git blame. Can you explain like git blame? Maybe it's a little out of scope, but you can give a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I'm surprised there is no git blame in the CL. I've never done a CLI git blame. So let's try a CLI git blame. Generally prefer GitHub's git blame. So let's do a git blame. So yeah, the git blame works here as well. So I think I'll do it on a repository, a different repository which has more commits and different files. Uh, let's go back. Abhinav some repository.
Yeah, I think we can check the RSA one that has
Which one?
RSA.
Does this have multiple people committing?
Yes, branches. Yeah.
There are 2 contributors. We'll have to actually see what changes were made in this. I'm not sure. So let's try on all of these files. Let's do a blame on all of these files. It's a folder. We'll skip the folder. Oh, that was the old repo. Fine. So here is the blame. We'll check the blame for all of the files. The blame basically tells us who made what commit and at what point of time. So this tells us like Abhinav made this 7 days ago, and there is no prior commit on this one, so it does not tell us a lot about it. And if you see this button, you can view who changed this line and when. So if I prior to this change, it will just show like this was the first commit, so there is no blame here.
So basically,
And
this is a
let's
more
see.
interactive way of going back and checking the status of the repository.
Yeah, and also if there are multiple reviews, especially when you're working in corporate, it's very helpful when something goes wrong. You at least know who did that.
Yep.
So there's that as well.
Yes, why it's called git blame.
Yeah,
I think what
I think
happened
the
here
Git
is
blame
I
is
think the commit in this repository I think was overwritten, like the contributors commit.
Mhm. Yeah, that might be possible as well. But there are a few comments. Yeah, it must have been overwritten. Let's try and find that comment. So we know this is not our use. This is not of our use. Uh, 7 days ago, 4 days ago.
And again, an important part here is that we should always have helpful commit names, because usually what happens is if you are working alone, you'll start making commit names that might not make sense. But in hindsight, that is a very bad idea, because if you mess something up, you want to go back using git blame or some other way, it's way easier to work if the commit names are helpful.
True. Let's look at another important thing that actually I prefer a lot to do. So let's see if I have it somewhere. I'll cd in one of my work folders. Uh, React. Do it on React starter because it's open as well. Uh, cat package.json. Yeah. So there is this thing called hooks. So
Yes,
hooks
hooks.
uh, are basically a command line file which gets executed uh, at a particular point of time when you're doing changes to your repository. So let's make some change. Let's see if I can find a change that I would like to do. So, the hooks are already set for this particular repository, but I'll still show like we won't go into setting up hooks today. And there are a lot of automated ways of setting up hooks as well. And what we'll do is this is the basic boilerplate we have for app, so we'll just remove all this clutter. And we'll convert it to a class component instead of a functional component. And class app extends. This is just something you don't need to pay really attention. This is React code and render. Just wanted to make a meaningful change to it. And let's do this. Let's particularly not format the file because this is a formatting hook. So I'll do a git add dot git commit. Feature is to change from functional to component. I hope I am on the latest latest pull. I did not pull this. So let's hope. Functional to class. So this is the hook execution. It's called Husky pre-commit. And what it does, it has formatted the file for me and committed that file back. And I'll do a git push as well.
Yeah, this is a very good way of doing some chores that you might not actually like to do all the time, like formatting
Yeah, and it's
and checking
necessary.
for
Like
bugs.
a lot of CIs do this as well. And one of the major reasons I do this is because if you see in my pretty.rc, the tab width is 4 and I use tabs. Most people use spaces, and the 2 is the default in the VS Code setup. So I just have these hooks. So I don't have to format every file when someone else is commenting.
This
So I
can bring
did
a
run
lot of
it.
uniformity.
Yeah, a lot of uniformity. I'll just close the merge and I'll do a git push as well. So this makes sure that I don't have to go a hassle of formatting code every time someone and one of the major reasons formatting is a hassle is because if you are like, let's say someone had set their tabs to instead of they had to set it to 2, and if I were to do this and I were to look at git status, let's see. So it's the display. The entire thing hasn't changed. But if someone had the entire file on 4 and they had that configured to that as well, then it would show like every time someone formats it on their system, it would show that the all the lines have been changed, which is a lot harder to debug if there is
Yeah,
a
that
code
is a
bug that we
big
run
hassle.
into. So that's why we prefer having
Es-
formattings in place.
Especially, I
Yeah,
think
even
many of us might relate to is Python because Python is indentation sensitive. And
correct. Python. So for Python, we have this thing called, I'll show you for Python as well, if it works.
yeah,
So
Niket,
this
one
is one
thing,
of,
we were a little short on time.
hmm. So let's wrap this up once we see the Python one. I think we have actually exceeded our time. We were actually going to end before we started hooks. So it has been going for a while, 52 minutes. Let's look at this final hook for Python and then we can end. So I already have this in place, and I'll do a git add dot git commit changes, and this sometimes fails. Let's hope it doesn't fail this time. So it passed and it has made the change. It's called black for Python files. You can look into it, and you can look into the hooks as well. If you go into .git folder and you go into hooks, and these are all the hooks that are there, and we have a pre-commit hook, I guess, and you can cat them and see what they are.
I think this can be very helpful, even if you're not working in a project, even if you're working solo and maybe on some Python files. This is a very
Yeah,
good workflow.
even then, I prefer to have a formatter in place and formatting hook in place. It makes life a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I guess
And
we'll end now.
yeah, that
I'm
was a
not
good
sure.
session.
Yeah,
Uh,
that was a good session. Let's hope we can have more sessions like this.
I think we'll add some links in the description for some written material on this if anyone wants to go and back and check. And
Yes, I'm sure we can do that. Yeah, that can
I think uh, yeah, I think we have tomorrow we have a session with Aryan, right?
Tomorrow we should have a session. Uh, Tomorrow, we are not sure what session we are conducting tomorrow, but most likely it would be about Google School of
Hi.
Summer of Code, maybe.
Yeah, hi. So
Hello, Arun, yeah.
about tomorrow, we're gonna have a wonderful event tomorrow as well, and it's going to be about open source societies, and either it's going to tell you how to get into GSOC and how to excel in that. Otherwise, it's going to tell you how to prepare for it by contacting and fitting in open source societies.
Yes,
Yeah.
that makes sense. So I think this was our last session on Git. We'll be posting links in the description again for written material and links for reference. Other than that, Aniket, do you have anything else you want to share?
No, I think we are good.
Yeah, thank you so much, guys. We had a wonderful session. I think everyone enjoyed it as well. So, thank you so much, guys, for coming. And everyone else, please join us again tomorrow, same platform, and we'll have more speakers joining us in the coming days. Thank you so much, guys.
Yep. Thank you for having us.